And for the next year, I'm going to be working with you to make Color My World for the Block of the Month quilt for the quiltshow.com. Alex says I'm the shepherd, and if I had a crook, I could hold my shepherd crook up here. I'm going to help you and be able to answer your questions and guide you along as we work on this year-long project. Today on the live, what I want to do is tell you the things that I think you need to do to get ready for the big day. January 1st is the big day. The first month's pattern will become available that day. The show that I taped last summer with Ricky will air that day, will begin that day, and that show will be available, of course, all year long. Actually, show month one, the block we're going to work on and how to make it. So that comes up. Also on the 1st of January, I'll have a detailed blog. I write blogs every month on the first day of the month pertaining to the block of the month. Lots of words and pictures to help you along with the process. And also on January 1st, I'll be doing the next Facebook Live at noon my time, 10 a.m. California time, Pacific time. For my friends in the UK and in Spain, it will be 6 p.m. in the evening. And for my friends in Australia and down under in New Zealand, unfortunately, it would be about 3 o'clock in the morning for you. So I don't really expect you to watch it live. But the lives are always available for you to watch later on the playlist for thequiltshow.com on YouTube. So anyway, I wanted to give you some suggestions and things on what you need to do to be ready. Okay, so the first thing that you'll need to make sure you have is some ink for your printer. Make sure your printer works and that you have enough ink. You can use just black ink if you want. I like to print the color pages with colored ink, but it's not necessary. And so you need some ink. You need copy paper. The first month's pattern is 10 pages long. The last 2 pages are the pattern itself, but the remaining 8 pages are Wendy's very detailed instructions with photographs and step-by-step instructions on how she has you do these freezer paper patterns. And this was a new technique to me. I hadn't used it before. I read it quite a bit, several times as I was working on it. And once I got the hang of it, after a house or two, I knew what the process was. But it's got a lot of great information. And then if you're going to use the freezer paper, you need to have some freezer paper on hand. The brand that I used, I got at my local quilt store. It's from C. Jenkins, and there were 50 pages in a pack. The quiltshow.com has, I believe the brand is from C&T. They have a bulk pack, a bonus pack that has 70 pages. It takes 46 pages minimum. If you don't mess any of them up, it would take at least 46 pages of freezer paper. You can do this quilt with regular paper piecing if you prefer, where you stitch through the paper. It'll take a lot of paper. And when I do that, I use newsprint, blank newsprint that I can buy locally, or vellum tracing paper. But you'll want to have some paper. You don't have to print everything if you don't want to. You could download the pattern to a device and read it from there. But I definitely recommend that you print at least the last 2 pages, the patterns themselves, on regular copy paper first, so that you can check that the 1-inch scale box is correct. If the pattern is not printed accurately, you will have a lot of difficulty because all of these first month's houses are small houses. And when we put all of them together a few months from now, they form a complete circle. So you want to make sure you've printed the patterns at the correct size. My setting says actual size. You don't want it to say scale or fit to page. You want to be absolutely certain. So do not proceed until you know that you're printing your patterns the correct size. So, let me show you what else. Okay, I'm going to show you what the month 1 patterns look like, and then we'll watch a little video with some step-by-step instructions. The video focuses on a different block. It's a month 8 block, but the pattern is quite similar, and so you will see the basic process that I'm going to show you here. The little video is less than 7 minutes long. But let me show you first what the pattern looks like. Okay. The first month, we start with small houses number 1 and number 2. They look very similar. When they're side by side, they appear to be similar. But the bottom, this is number 1, small house number 1, the door section is taller than in small house number 2. But ultimately, they are the same length, both of them, because eventually down the road, we will be joining these together into pairs and then pairs of pairs and things like that. So because they were so similar, and this month, for month 1, we're going to make 8 small houses number 1 and 8 small houses number 2. And I found right off the bat, I needed to just make the 8 number 1s, get those finished, and then switch to the 8 number 2s. Yes, small house number 2s. So that I didn't accidentally put the lower part of small house number 2 on the top half of small house number 1. And I could definitely see myself doing that. Don't want to do that. Okay. So let's go take a look at the little video that'll show you a little bit more about how this process works. Hi everybody, I'm Barbara Black. Welcome to my studio. I'm going to be working with you on our journey as we make the 2021 Block of the Month quilt called Color My World, designed exclusively for the quilt show by Australian designer Wendy Williams. So today let's talk about the paper patterns. That'll be your first source. In order to be able to make the quilt, you'll be printing the patterns. You'll want to print onto freezer paper. You're printing on the matte side, not the waxy side. And C. Jenkins freezer paper sheets worked very well for me. They're already pre-cut at 8.5 by 11. The one package had 50 sheets of paper in it, and I needed a total of 46 if I didn't mess any of them up. So one package should do it for you fine. When you get ready to print, there's a couple of things you absolutely have to be sure of in your printer settings. Number 1 is that you are printing actual size. There, on every pattern page, there is a 1-inch square scale box that after you print the pattern, you want to double check to make sure that this 1-inch scale box really is 1 inch. If your box is smaller or larger than 1 inch, the pattern pieces will not be the right size. Stop and calculate, figure out your settings so that you can have the correct size. We're going to print on the matte side, not the waxy side, so make sure you know how to feed the paper through your printer so that that happens. Once you have them printed and you have double checked the scale is correct, then before you cut them apart, I strongly recommend you transfer all of the information that's on the sheet of paper directly to the pattern. Once I've cut these pattern pieces apart and used them, they all start to look alike. For example, this pattern piece is for tall building number 3, right side. In the quilt there are 4 tall building number 3, right side. So I'm going to use these templates 4 times. This one sheet of paper will allow me to make the pattern, those tall buildings for all 4 of them. But they look an awful lot like tall building number 3 left side. So I don't want to mix them up, and I'm not going to be making both at the same time. I'm only going to make the right sides. So in each one of these patterns with a pencil, I have indicated this is tall building 3, TB3 RS for right side, and this is section number 1. It says number 1 right there. And so I've made this a number 1. Once I've cut this apart, that number 1 that's on this outside of the sheet, you simply can't see it anymore. It's gone. TB3 right side number 2, TB3 right side number 3, etc. Here's 4, 5, 6, and 7. Then I'm going to cut them apart. I just want to mention about tall building 3 right side template number 6. This is simply a template that doesn't have any sewing associated with it. It allows you to cut this long skinny piece that's going to go on the building. This is actually the shadow of the tall building, and so we need to cut that out anyway, and you'll use that on your fabric in order to make that piece. And there's several throughout this quilt that happen that way, where you have a template that's simply a template for cutting. So I've got all my transferred marks on here, used a pencil so that I don't have to worry about it smearing, and now I'm ready to cut the pieces apart. I use a rotary cutter blade that I only use for cutting paper, just to keep it simple, and I'm going to cut these pieces apart. I just come up across here, and I leave a 1/4 inch or so border the first time. I do save all this extra stuff because this is perfectly good freezer paper, and I like to do applique with freezer paper, so I've got some extra pieces there. And then I'll go ahead and just trim these up real quick. Okay. There's no reason to have to cut it really close right now, because you are going to trim each one of these to the outside line when you get done sewing them. Okay. So I would have this one cut and this one, and right now I'm going to work on this section number 1. So I've got these cut apart. The next thing that you'll want to do that's new, if you've not ever used this technique before, and it was new to me, I had not used this. I've done lots and lots of paper piecing where I sew through the paper, but one of the advantages to this method of not sewing through the paper is that we don't have to change our stitch length. We're going to have a regular size stitch length, not a teeny tiny stitch length. So if you have a mistake or you sew the wrong thing to the wrong thing, which we all do from time to time, it's much easier to take out those stitches. But in order to prep this pattern before we can start to sew, Wendy's instructions are very clear to fold each of these fold lines first. On this pattern, you can clearly see which is the first seam because each seam has a number in bold. This number 1 means this is the first seam we're going to sew. Number 2 is the second seam, and number 3 is the third seam. There are 4 pieces on this particular pattern. So the first thing I have to do is fold, and fold with the mat side out. I can see that number 1 line, and now I'm going to turn it over here and fold the number 2 line, and then I'll fold the number 3 line. Get those, and I'm just finger pressing them right on the line. You'll want to do that as carefully as possible because where you do the fold is where you're going to actually sew. Then she tells you to fold it back the opposite way. Now we're going to fold to the waxy side. And what I found helpful on this, since I can't see the line very well on this side, is I just use a lovely postcard that comes in the mail. And I put that on the number 1 line, fold it back here, and just give that an extra little push. Same thing here. I want to get this as accurate as possible. It takes a minute or 2 to do this, but it's not hard. And on the occasion when I didn't do it and just started sewing, I was always sorry. It's better to do that prep work first. It really helps to make the sewing process much faster. Okay, so there's the piece. It's ready to go. I've done all the prep work for it. I would go ahead and do that for all of these pieces. There are 7 sections here. The number 6, we don't have to do any prep to it other than making the pattern. And that's all it takes to get the paper ready. So the next thing up, we're going to look at how you actually will sew these patterns now. Thanks. Okay, so I hope that you have a little more understanding of part of the process of how this works. As I said, Wendy's instructions in month 1, many pages of instructions showing her technique for folding the papers. So I encourage you to take the time to do that. Now I'm going to show you the next little trick of how we actually, after the pieces are sewn, the live that will happen on January 1st and the video that I'm going to play then will be a step-by-step in sewing the actual pieces. So let's take a look at the pieces that I had up here a second ago. Okay, so I've got number 1s and number 2s, and I have put little sticky notes on the back, and I've pinned, these are extras, and I've pinned this. The only way I know if this is small house number 1 or 2 is to look. Small house number 1, and then these are small house number 2. I keep them all together because, like I said, they sure look a lot alike, and you don't want to get them mixed up. All right, so here are the pattern pieces for small house number 1, and I know that because I have written here small house number 1. And that's the top half, and this is the bottom half. Okay. Once you've sewn the pieces, the process for trimming involves trimming this accurately to exactly the right size. I do not just lay the edge of the ruler along the paper. If there's any possibility that I haven't trimmed the paper exactly right, or I want to measure always from the 1/4 inch line. So I'm going to put the 1/4 inch mark on the ruler onto the 1/4 inch line, and I've already trimmed this side. So let me show you a side I haven't trimmed yet. Okay, the 1/4 inch line on the 1/4 inch line, the seam allowance line, or the sewing line. Got that just right. Okay, and now I'm going to trim that off. Get a good trim there. Oh, it doesn't trim real well when you're seated. Okay, the top will be the same thing. Again, I'm going to make certain that I have lined up the 1/4 inch line on the ruler with the 1/4 inch line on the pattern and trim this excess away. If you were using the edge of the paper, as I said, if you ever trimmed some of that paper off accidentally, you now have a pattern that's smaller than it's supposed to be. The other thing to note, and I showed when I did this, this is actually the piece that I worked with Ricky in the studio on. There's a small curve at the bottom, and that's because, as I said, when we put a total of 32 small houses together into a circle, small houses number 1, 2, 3, and 4, come the third month, we'll make pattern small houses 3 and 4. Then we need a circle. So the bottom is slightly curved, and I can't just put the ruler there and whack it across straight. I needed to take little bites along to get that curve. So now I'm going to show you, if you're not really sure about this freezer paper technique and why you might want to do this instead of sewing through the paper, here is the beauty of this system. I've trimmed this completely, I've sewn it completely, it's all ready to go, section number 1, and now I can simply pull it apart. This piece is done and ready to go, and when I get the top half ready, it'll be sewn onto there. And the pattern piece is ready to be used again. I can use this over and over again. I kept track on my pattern pieces. We'll put this down. And I wrote times used. So far on this one, I have used this pattern piece, looks like 9 or 10 times. Over and over and over again. As it starts to lose some of its tackiness, the wax, I just substitute with a little bit of a glue pen just to hold it long enough to get the process going. So that was a game changer for me when I could use the same pattern over and over again instead of sewing through the paper. And I didn't have to rip the stitches off from the paper, and I didn't have to turn my stitches lengths really, really small. So I would encourage you to try this at least once before you say, yeah, I don't think that works for me. So give it a try and see what you think. Okay, let's go. Okay, let me check my notes to see. Okay, now I want to talk about the keys to success. I want you to be successful at this project. The Quilt Show folks want you to be successful with this project, and I'm sure Wendy Williams also wants you to be successful with this project. So the most important thing I can't stress enough is to take advantage of the information that's provided for you. Read the pattern. Her instructions, as I mentioned, there's 10 pages of instructions. Read them before you start. Watch this video again if you don't understand about how to fold the paper. Watch the video that'll come out on January 1st of the actual sewing process step by step. Watch the show that comes on January 1st. And my blog, I write a lengthy blog, and it's got a lot of information. I also have a lot of tutorials on there. There's several about paper piecing available. There's at least 2 tutorials there, one on freezer paper and one on regular paper piecing with where you stitch through the paper. Another important place that I'm going to encourage you to go to is the forum on thequiltshow.com. I'm going to take you there and show you again how to find it. That is the easiest and fastest way to get immediate answers to your questions. Just let me take you there and show you. But you can ask any question you want there pertaining to this project. I check several times a day. Particularly the first week of each new month. There's always lots of questions that come up, so I check those constantly. And if you know the answer to someone's questions, by all means, go right ahead and provide the answer. I don't have to be the only one giving you the answer. So let me show you now the website. Okay. All right. So I'm here on the home page and I'm logged in. First, if you're not able to access the patterns, check and make sure you're logged in. If you get a message that says you're not authorized to do this, to access these patterns, you're probably not logged in. So do make sure that you're logged in. All right, so first I'm going to show you where we can find the patterns. They're under Learn, Classes and Block of the Month. Come to Block of the Month 2021, and click right on that, and it takes you right there. It's got the information. I showed you this last time when I did the live. The kits are coming. They are being worked on right now. If you are interested in finding out when the kits are available, there are 2 different backgrounds here, the confetti background or the art history. Click on whichever one of those you're interested in. And when you go to that page, there's a clickable link that says, email me when the kits are available. You are not placing an order. You are simply getting the email along with everybody else in the world that wants that email to know when the kits are available so that you can order again. Okay. Then right now it's not January 1st yet, so we don't have the first month's pattern. But when we do, this is where you'll find it. It'll be right in line here. The only one we have right at the moment is the introduction. And you can download those instructions. That was many pages. It showed the pattern, the kit fabric, so that helped people if you were trying to plan your own fabrics and wanted to put your work from your stash, that's fine. And then the instructional videos as well. That's where all of these are there. I'll just show you those for a second. The two that are there is the one I did on fabric requirements, and then pre-washing the fabric, especially the kit fabrics, to help cut down on the raveling. So that's where those are. So that's where you'll find everything that you're looking for on January 1st when they become available. Now, the forum. Go over to connect to our quilter community, and we slide right down, we come to forum. And if we hit it right, there we go. Okay. When you first come to the forum, you are on the index page. You'll always know where you are because it tells you you're in the forum on the index. All of these are categories that are already established, and I can't change them. They are there. They're all set up, ready to go. If you just want to see the block of the month, you're right here at the top. You can quickly see it. Block of the month 2021, Color My World. So if you're not interested in anything else that's going on in the forum, just click on that. It'll take you to all the posts that have been made about this current block of the month. I always beg people, encourage people, ask people, please go to recent topics when you first come to the forum. So let's click on that and I'll show you why. When we come to recent topics, we get the current topics that are getting the most talked about, the most buzz. It's what's going on. Alex has done a faces class that has been wildly popular. As you can see, as of this minute, there, under her faces topic, there are 599 posts about that. If every one of those people had created a new topic called faces, there would be 599 topics you would have to open and look at individually to see what they said. Please don't do that. We've put these categories together so that you can find everything pertaining to faces in this one topic. Same thing with basket puzzle, right? Here's another very popular one, over 500 posts on this one. Holiday quilt's been very popular as well. And then we've got, you can just see, I'm just looking at what else has been talked about recently. There was one that I posted yesterday about our live today to remind people that it was going to happen. So it's right there. But you can see quickly what you're looking for. If for some reason there isn't a topic there that pertains to anything you wanted to ask about, you can create a new topic. But the chances are good that you're going to find a topic that's already up, particularly if it pertains to the block of the month, because as I've shown you, we already have a block of the month. So I'm going to click on this one right here. I've clicked on the red word, so that takes me back to the primary category for the topic. Topics in this category, block of the month 2021, Color My World. And again, right here at the top, where are we? Forum, block of the month 2021, Color My World. All right. So there's been talk about the freezer paper. There's been talk about fabrics. There was the big one about pre-washing the fabrics. Let's look at this fabric one. I want to show you this for a second. Okay. All right. So one of our folks here that's working on this is Glosserda, and she posted a photograph of her quilt fabrics that she's put together. Now, yes, the picture is sideways. No, I don't know why it's sideways. I get mine sideways sometimes too. It has something to do with whether it was taken in portrait or landscape, whether I edited it or didn't edit it. I can't ever change mine around to make them go the other way once I've posted it, and so it just doesn't matter. With the new website coming, I don't think we're going to have to worry about this. But she put her pictures up there. It's an attachment to her message, and she just wanted to show, this is her, I think this is lovely, her background fabric, and then some great fabrics in there. Okay, so she did ask another time that that they're fat quarters, is that going to be okay? And I responded to that and said, you bet, those will be fine, no problem there. If you wanted to show your fabric too on this topic, you reply topic. So if we're still on the topic called fabric and you just hit reply topic, when you do that, The message box comes up. You can type your message. These are my beautiful fabrics, or whatever it is that you want to say. If you want to add a photograph, you come down here to add file. You click on that, and then you'll be in your looking in your device, your computer or your tablet, whatever it is you're using to find your pictures. And when you hit add file and select a file, there's another box that's going to show up right here called insert. So if you just put the file in here when you hit add file as an attachment and you hit the submit button, it will show up as an attachment exactly like the photo I just showed you. If you want it to be inserted in the bed of your message, then you click on the word insert before you hit the word submit, and you'll see it right in the body of your message. If the photo does not appear, it may very well be too large. 5 megabytes is the maximum size for a photo. So if yours is larger than 5 megabytes, resize it down smaller and then try again. When you click on the preview button, you will not see any photos that are attached. So don't get excited that you think you've done everything and there's no photo in preview. There will not be a photo in preview. You'll only see it when you hit submit and post your blog. So that's how you reply to a topic. Oh, okay. So let me go back to that for a second. A couple of other little things that I feel about the forum. I treat thank you as if like on Facebook. So if you just want to, let's see if somebody's got a question here. Look at these. Ellen Celeste picked her fabrics together here. And so Helen W. has said thank you. And if you just click on thank you, like I'm going to do right here, now BB Quilt Maker has also said thank you. It's just a way, you don't have to post an answer or ask her questions unless you wanted to, but it's just a way to acknowledge that you were glad that you got to see the picture. So that's a thank you button. And if someone asks a detailed question, the easiest way to make sure that they see it again, I click on the quote button, and then it'll say everything that this person has said, as I did here. So I quoted Glycerda, Barbara, they are fat quarters, hope they work. So now you can see, and I wrote those will be fine. If my answer just said those will be fine, nobody will know what was she talking about. So that the quote button is a way to do that. So anyway, that's just a little bit more information on how to use the forum. All right. Okay, so I'm going to check my list again and see if I've got any more things that I absolutely wanted to tell you. Yes, a couple of things. And then I'm going to check and see if there's any questions that I can answer for you right now. This is the last reminder, my push one more time to, if you are not already a STAR member and you want to take advantage of this pattern, which is free to STAR members starting January 1st, I encourage you to take advantage and sign up right now. We are still in 2020, and by through December 31st of 2020, the current block of the month, which was called Afternoon Delight and is a pattern by the late Sue Garman. It's a wonderful quilt, and I was thrilled that we chose it because it was a quilt I always wanted to make. Those patterns are still available to all STAR members free right now until December 31st. But come December 31st, they go away, and they will not be free anymore. The rights go back to the designer, and you will be able to purchase that pattern for $85 from the designer's website. So if you think you ever might want to make that quilt, now's the time to get those patterns for yourself. Now there's 12 months worth of patterns. Come January 1st, we'll be all ready with Color My World, and the same exact rules will apply to that. It'll be free through December 31st, 2021. And then we're getting ready to roll out the new website. Sometime in the middle of January is the plan for the new website to go live. And in celebration of that, there will be a third block of the month pattern set that will be available free to all STAR members. It's the 2014 block of the month done by Janet Stone, award-winning quilter Janet Stone. It's her quilt that she designed for the quilt show called A to Z for You and Me. Those patterns will be free. Again, it was so popular in 2014, and once it went away, a lot of people were sorry that they didn't get them. So the quilt show is going to provide that again as an added bonus. So that's 3 block of the month patterns available if you're a STAR member right now. I have been a fan since before the quilt show started. I have watched all 13 years of shows, and that's another thing I always remind people. Once you join as a star member, you have access to every show that's ever aired before. That's a tremendous amount of information. I learned something from every show. So I am just, that's the last push to encourage you to become a star member. Okay, let me see if I can see any questions. I think I've got this ready. Okay. Yes. All right. There's Marty wants to know if you want to use two different background colors, one for the inside circle and one for the outer. Do you have a suggestion on the amount of fabric? Yes, I do, because I've been asked that question. And on the forum where we just were, I show there is one of the topics is two different background fabrics, and it has the exact amount. I don't want to tell you off the top of my head because I might get it wrong. It's like 2 yards and 3 yards, something like that. That wouldn't have occurred to me. That's a great question, because that wouldn't have occurred to me because the pattern only used one background. But that's a great idea if you want to use two different background fabrics, even three. That somebody told me they want to do the Mariner's Compass in one and something else, the middle in something else, and then the borders in something else yet again. So there you go. All righty. Use print and piece instead of freezer paper. The print and piece, if it's fusible, I don't think, if it's fusible, it won't work. But so I don't know exactly about the print and piece. Alex might be able to address that for us. Oh, good. Sue said the A to Z pattern was one of her favorites, so she's thrilled. Does the star membership run from the month you join to the net? Yes, it's a 365-day membership. If you join today, your membership goes all the way through December 18th of 2021. It's not an annual, it's a 365 days. Great question. Paul says, I joined in September. I've seen the first 7 seasons. Great show, funds, lots of good. Nova Scotia. All right. I've had a couple of people apologize to me that they don't want to make this quilt. And I said, that's perfectly fine. The 2021 quilt is so different from the 2020. It's not at all surprising that it's going to attract different people. So I'm thrilled with anybody that wants to make it. The reason to make this quilt is because you love it and you want to make it. Yes. Is there a way to be in the forum without getting all the subsequent emails? Yes. When you post a message on the forum, before you hit submit, there's a box that you click that says to unsubscribe from emails. And if you don't want to get them emails, because every time somebody posts something on that category, you will get another email. And I need them because I'm checking everybody's constant posts all the time, but you might not need those or not want those. So there is a way to do that. And then every email you get, there's a box that says, if you want to unsubscribe, click here. So that looks for you to do that. Okay, I like this process. Ripping off paper gets too messy. Let's do. We got one of our Queensland ladies, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning there. Somebody from Kuwait. That's pretty cool. Okay. And I will look back at some of these questions. As I mentioned, the easiest way to get an answer to an important question pertaining to this is go to the forum and ask. I am constantly looking there, and that's a great way. And then any question you have, someone else probably has the same question. So somebody asked here, why are you showing us how to cut out before we know how to sew it together? I'm trying to get ahead of the people who won't read the instructions, who are just going to jump in on January 1st. And so I just wanted to show you that little technique, because I didn't show it on the show that aired about how you can trim accurately and then remove the paper. That's why, Trudy, that I'm doing that. If it's confusing, I'm sorry. All righty. Okay, let me see if there's anything right here at the bottom from Australia. Cool. As I just mentioned, this quilt is not for everybody. And Linda says, I am not a traditional quilter, so this is more my style. Thank you for changing it up. That's great. Let me come back now. Okay, so when Alex first showed this to me and I said, oh my gosh, this is great, I want to make it, because it is not my typical style either. But and I said, this will get people interested who found the current one, the 2020, way too traditional. They wanted something else that's different. So It's just great. And I learned a lot. And when my husband first saw it on the wall as I was working on it, he walked in, he went, "Whoa, this is not your usual kind of quilt." And of course, my sons and their wives and girlfriends love it. They think it's just really great because it's not a real traditional quilt. So, okay, I think that's plenty for today. I've put a lot of content out there, and I will look at further questions coming along the way. Um, the I hope you have a wonderful holiday, whatever it is you celebrate. We're in Hanukkah right now. Christmas is right around the corner. You probably have a lot to do too, just like I do. So I wish you all just a great holiday season in whatever way you are able and planning to celebrate. So until the next time, that's a wrap.